Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back, and this is Shravanam Diaries podcast. I'm your host Lalita Devidasi. We are reading The Path of Perfection by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 7, Yoga for the Modern Age. Arjuna Uvacha Yoyam yogastvaya proktah samyena madhusudana etasyam na pashyami Etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Unquote. Bhagavad-Gita 6.33. This is the crucial test of the eightfold Ashtanga Yoga system expounded herein by Lord Shri Krishna. It has already been explained that one must sit in a certain way and concentrate the mind on the form of Vishnu, seated within the heart. According to the Ashtanga Yoga system, first of all, one has to control the senses, follow all the rules and regulations, practice the sitting posture and the breathing process, concentrate the mind on the form of Vishnu within the heart, and then become absorbed in that form. There are 8 processes in this Ashtanga Yoga system. But herein Arjuna says quite frankly that this Ashtanga Yoga system is very difficult. Indeed, he says that it, quote, appears impractical and endurable to me, unquote. Actually, the Ashtanga Yoga system is not impractical, for were it impractical, Lord Krishna would not have taken so much trouble to describe it. It is not impractical, but it appears impractical. What may be impractical for one man may be practical for another. Arjuna is representative of the common man, in the sense that he is not a mendicant, or a sannyasi, or a scholar. He is on the battlefield, fighting for his kingdom, and in this sense he is an ordinary man engaged in a worldly activity. He is concerned with earning a livelihood, supporting his family, and so on. Arjuna has many problems, just as the common man, and generally the system of Ashtanga Yoga is impractical for the ordinary common man. That is the point being made. It is practical for one who has already completely renounced everything and can sit in a secluded, sacred place on the side of a hill or in a cave. But who can do this in this age? Although Arjuna was a great warrior, a member of the royal family, and a very advanced person, he proclaims this yoga system impractical. And what are we in comparison to Arjuna? If we attempt this system, failure is certain. Therefore, this system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Shuchau Deshe and ending with Yogi Parama, is here rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. As stated before, it is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. As Kali Yuga processes, our lifespan gets shorter and shorter. Our forefathers lived for 100 years or more, but now people are dying at the age of 60 or 70. Gradually, the lifespan will decrease even further. Memory, mercy, and other good qualities will also decrease in this age. In Kali Yuga, people are not serious about self-realization, even by simple, practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow the system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in so many ways. He was not prepared to become a pseudo-yogi and practice some gymnastic feats. He was not a pretender, but a soldier and a family man. Therefore, he frankly admitted that for him, the system of yoga would be a waste of time. Arjuna belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. Hare Krishna. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, when Arjuna was living, the lifespan was very long. At that time, people used to live up to 1,000 years. In the present age of Kali Yuga, the lifespan is limited to 100 years. In Dvapara Yuga, the lifespan was 1,000 years. In Treta Yuga, the lifespan was 10,000 years, and in Satya Yuga, the lifespan was 100,000 years. Thus, as the yugas degenerate, the lifespan decreases. Even though Arjuna was living at a time when one would live and practice meditation for 1,000 years, he still considered the system impossible. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few, rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this was so 5,000 years ago, what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely ignorant of the desired goal. Since this Ashtanga yoga system is considered impossible, the Bhakti yoga system is recommended for everyone. Haribol! Without training or education, one can automatically participate in Bhakti yoga. Even a small child can clap at kirtan. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has proclaimed Bhakti Yoga the only system practical for this age. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 17.21. Quote, In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Chanting is very simple, and one will feel the results immediately. Pratyakshavangamam dharmyam. If we attempt to practice other yoga systems, we will remain in darkness. We will not know whether or not we are making progress. In Bhakti Yoga, one can understand, yes, now I am making progress. This is the only yoga system by which one can quickly attain self-realization and liberation in this life. One doesn't have to wait for another lifetime. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramadhi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sudushkaram. Quote, for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it is, it seems to me, more difficult than controlling the wind. Unquote, Bhagavad-Gita 6.34. By chanting Hare Krishna, one captures the mind immediately. Just by saying the name Krishna and hearing it, the mind is automatically fixed on Krishna. This means that the entire yoga system is immediately attained. The entire yoga system aims at concentration on the form of Vishnu, and Krishna is the original personality from whom all these Vishnu forms are expanded. Krishna is like the original candle from which all other candles are lit. If one candle is lit, one can light any number of candles, and there is no doubt that each candle is as powerful as the original candle. Nonetheless, one has to recognize the original candle as the original. Similarly, from Krishna, millions of Vishnu forms expand, and each Vishnu form is as good as Krishna. But Krishna remains the original. Thus, one who concentrates his mind on Lord Shri Krishna, the original personality, supreme personality of Godhead, immediately attains the perfection of yoga. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshaya Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha grihyate. The Blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. Unquote, Bhagavad-Gita 6.35. Krishna does not say that it is not difficult. Rather, he admits that it is difficult, but possible by means of constant practice. Constant practice means engaging ourselves in some activities that remind us of Krishna. In the Society for Krishna Consciousness, we therefore have many activities: kirtan, temple activities, prasad, publications, and so on. Everyone is engaged in some activity with Krishna at the center. Therefore, whether one is typing for Krishna, cooking for Krishna, chanting for Krishna, or distributing literature for Krishna, he is in the yoga system, and he is also in Krishna. We engage in activities just as in material life, but these activities are molded in such a way that they are directly connected with Krishna. Thus, through every activity, Krishna consciousness is possible, and perfection in yoga follows automatically. Asamyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matih vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayata. Quote, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Unquote. Bhagavad-Gita 6.36. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Similarly, yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. I may sit down to meditate and focus my mind on Krishna, and that is very commendable. But there are many yoga societies that teach their students to concentrate on the void or on some color. That is, they do not recommend concentration on the form of Vishnu. Trying to concentrate the mind on the impersonal or the void is very difficult and troublesome. It is stated by Sri Krishna in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, 5th verse. Kleshodhika tarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukham dehavadbhira vapyate. Quote, for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Unquote. In the temple, the devotee tries to concentrate on the form of Krishna. Concentrating on nothingness or on void is very difficult, and naturally the mind is very flickering. Therefore, instead of concentrating on the void, the mind searches out something else. The mind must be engaged in thinking of something, and if it is not thinking of Krishna, it must be thinking of Maya. Therefore, pseudo-meditation on the impersonal void is simply a waste of time. Such a show of yoga practice may be materially lucrative, but unless as far as spiritual realization is concerned, but useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. I may open a class in yogic meditation and charge people money for sitting down and pressing their nose this way and that way, but if my students do not attain the real goal of yoga practice, they have wasted their time and money, and I have cheated them. Therefore, one has to concentrate his mind steadily and constantly on the form of Vishnu, and that is called samadhi. In Krishna consciousness, the mind is controlled by engaging it constantly in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Haribol, we have completed the 7th chapter. Jai, thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description, and we shall see you next time. Hare Krishna.